Madam Mayor, members of the council, about a year ago, last July, the City Council adopted ordinance awarding a contract to remediate, demo, and decommission the Missouri City power plant. Now, of course, as we all recall, that process had started many years before that with the decision to shut that plant down, to go into cold shutdown, no longer using it as a functioning coal-fired power plant, and ultimately went through a process that led to the decision to dismantle, decommission, and remediate that site. So as this has been a very, one of our largest awarded contracts in our city's history, and one that is very unique for the state, very few cities have an opportunity to operate their own power plant, let alone decommission one. We wanted to make sure that we continue to update the council on the progress of this project. So tonight I'm going to ask our Assistant City Manager for Utilities, Mark Randall, to come forward and provide you with a little bit of a status update about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark Randall, Assistant City Manager. As Zach said, it's been about a year now since the property was transferred to Missouri City Acquisition, LLC. And so tonight we'd just like to give you a routine update on the progress to date, because since the time of the transfer, they've been working on a variety of remediation activities, and we just wanted to give you a quick, brief update on all that's been done so far. As you see in the report in your packet there, all asbestos and other hazardous material remediation work is complete now. All communication and metering equipment requested by the city has been removed. Plant electrical service is now being supplied by Northwest Electric Cooperative. Generators 1 and 2 are dismantled and have been removed off-site for salvage. And I think we've got a picture here for you showing the generator being dismantled. There's also a picture there showing some of the exterior demolition work. The contractor is going to use a high-reach crane to begin taking down the main power plant building. No explosives are going to be used. The crane assembly is underway right now. The bag house is 50% dismantled. The remaining demolition and removal should be completed by the end of next week. All wiring is completely removed from the plant. The contractor has begun the process of removing the coal residue from the coal storage area and is preparing to import fill for the final cap. It's anticipated that demolition, with the exception of the stack, will be complete around the end of November. The contractor will use explosives to bring down the stack. They have determined that the asbestos found in the stack lining will not be the type to become airborne during the demolition process. In other words, it's non-friable. The proposal still needs MDNR approval before the work can be scheduled. The contractor is estimating that 38,000 cubic yards of fill will be required to backfill the building footprint. Additional geoprobe testing will be done after demolition is complete to determine the extent of the subsurface remediation work. The total project has been estimated by our engineers, who've been really doing a great job monitoring this so far. They estimate it's been about 42.6% complete as of the end of August. The final completion is targeted for March or April of next year, but the final completion date is subject to geoprobe investigations that we were talking about before, after demolition is complete, and review of the findings by MDNR. Now, $4,904,270 have been expended to date. The amount remaining on the contract is $4,860,730. To give you a little detail on that, asbestos removal, like I said, it's 100% complete, except for a final report that is not quite completed, which is probably maybe under a $10,000 item. But except for that, asbestos removal is 100% complete, and we have paid on that item $2,195,000. Demolition of the site. So far, we have paid to date $683,000 roughly, and which leaves $2,092,000 left to go on that part. Subsurface remediation. $445,000 has been paid to date, which leaves $1,965,000 left to go. So, at this point, as I said, this is just a routine update to let you know how they're doing on their remediation efforts. And again, as we said, it's about 42% complete as of this time. So, if there's any other questions for you, that's really pretty much the update for tonight.
Okay, any comments or questions from the council?
Yes.
Councilman?
So, a couple questions, Mark, and you may not be able to answer them, but I guess there's nobody else here to do it. So was there more or less asbestos and contamination than what we expected and what was in the bid? Was there more or less?
You know, I don't know that I could say more or less. I just know that it's all been paid out that was, everything that was identified in the asbestos. It wasn't like a lump sum. For example, if I could indicate to you, there was, for example, the turbine deck, the coal handling floor, the conveyor machine room, fan room, the heater floor, turbine basement, the basement itself, mezzanine floor, operating floor, exterior windows. Various things had been identified as containing asbestos, and each of those have been removed, and each of them the total was, there were sub parts to the asbestos total for each of these type items. It's all been done, so they're 100% completed on it, but I don't know that it was more in quantity than what they thought. I just know that they have been on track with that and got it completed.
So there were some other contaminants there. You know, the fuel, some of the oil, some of the transformer, CPB type stuff. I was wondering, are we going to get a detailed report that it was disposed of at EPA sites so that we have documentation in the future that we didn't contaminate any other sites?
Right. They've been very good at making sure that they have their DNR permits on everything they've done. So whatever you would like to see, we could certainly provide it.
Okay.
Could give you the confidence that it's all been disposed of correctly.
When they demolished the building, the main building is all concrete and steel. So will that just be demolished and used as fill on site? Since there's so much fill, it talks about 3,800 cubic yards. Will they won't haul that off, will they?
Well, I think they'll haul off the concrete and steel components, but I better just halt to say I don't know exactly what they will do with all of it, where it will go.
Okay.
I just know that they have to remove. You generally wouldn't bury that, but you know, all of it. I'm sure there's some that can be buried on site, but not all. So I'll just have to get back to you on where they will dispose of the concrete and rebar.
And when they blow up the stack, surely they will have everybody in protective equipment, won't they?
Certainly.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed it says the electrical service is now being supplied by Northwest Electric, but then further down it says all wiring is completely removed from the plant. So what are they using the electricity for?
Well, any electricity they need to have is not our concern. It's their concern, and we're out of it. It's basically, there's nothing that we're supplying to the site.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
So again, it's not our site anymore, it's their site, and this is just to give you a little update. So we may not have all the information that you'd like, but we can get any information you'd like to know about the process.
When does the insurance policy go into effect?
That goes at the
Liability.
end of the process. That's like one of the final payout items, is all that.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Yes, Councilmember DeLucy.
Is this a guaranteed maximum price contract so that we are at 9.75 million or whatever it is,
That's
and it
correct.
cannot go higher?
That's right.
And how is it paid? Who made the decision that it's 42.6% complete? And is that decision triggering a certain percentage of the money being paid by the
That's
city?
right. That's right, exactly right. So they put in a pay estimate or pay request, which then we verify and then we pay it.
And so is there a city employee out there supervising the
Yes,
demolition?
project manager.
Is that a
and
city
IPL is
employee?
doing that, yes.
Okay.
Our project manager is doing that for us, doing a really good job for us monitoring that project.
Okay. And so we don't need to worry about change orders or anything like that?
No,
Thank you.
not that I am aware of anyway, no. Any other questions then for tonight? But thank you for your time. It was just a little update. Go
Madam
ahead.
Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Perkins?
So the very bottom line here, 4.9 million's already been spent on this.
Correct.
I guess it's more of a kind of a general statement. So 4.9 million has been spent on this. That's quite a bit of money, and not even halfway there, less than halfway there. So it seems like we're right on projection to what our request for proposal was.
Right, yes, definitely. The total, like the work to be done totals $8,475,000 roughly. Then there's this additional amount at the end, which is talking about the insurance and those requirements. So there's additional a payout at the end. So we're 42% done with the project, but yeah. So then,
Mr. City Manager, do you
Yeah,
want to clarify?
I'll clarify this because I think this is an important
Thank you.
point. They're not paying 10% of the project's done, so we paid 10%. When the decision was made to work with this firm, we negotiated this contract before bringing it to the council. So there are deliverables associated with. So asbestos cost a certain amount.
Right.
Once that deliverable has been completed, the project manager will, double check and verify that and then say, yes, City of Independence Finance Department, you're okay to pay that invoice because that specific task has now been completed. So putting it in layman terms, this is kind of like going to the grocery store. You're paying for the cost of that service there. So it costs this much to get the asbestos removal done. It costs this much. So I see kind of what's going. You've paid 4.9 million. You've completed 42%. My guess is, without looking at that contract in front of me tonight, some of those back-end deliverables are not going to be as expensive. It's not a rough 1% for $1 all the way throughout the contract. Does that help clarify a little bit?
Yeah, that helps me so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Yes, Councilman?
Finally. How many times I come into your office? Give me an update. We've went through this how many times?
right,
Right. And this is not an easy process.
no,
And we got the right company for the right job. That's the way I'm feeling it. They're coming through on what it is.
they seem to be performing according to the contract, according to our staff.
You, sir? Thank you. No. What I'm saying to you is that these updates have to be, we discovered a plan to see how they do it, because I've been in there asking all this time, how's it going, where's it going, and who's in charge, and how it's working. And they've come through every time. Late that we got the process going. But this is a culmination of all them little meetings we've had to keep this on track and to see that it's doing the right job. And I don't see a flaw in it at this point. You agree?
I agree.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, our next presentation is a report on the 2018 Santa Calgon Days Festival. Mr. Plesnick.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Tom Lesnick with Independence Chamber of Commerce. An honor to speak to you this evening, give you a summary and a recap of our recently concluded Santa Calgon Festival, which wrapped up a week ago tonight. As you know, this is our 46th festival. It's quite a tradition here in Independence. And really much of the festival's success sometimes is based on weather, and the weather gods were smiling on us. It threatened us at times during the course of the weekend, and really until a few minutes after 5 o'clock last Monday, the skies opened up and it rained down on us, but for the most part, the weather treated us very well. We think we had an estimated attendance about 250,000. We don't charge admission at the gate, so we don't count numbers, but based on what we see, we take pictures, photographs throughout the course of the event. Looking at head counts compared to previous events, and we feel pretty comfortable. There's about 250,000 people that attended the festival over the weekend. Great variety of food vendors. We got great reviews of our entertainment on both the main stage and community stage. I think overall the feedback we got from attendees was very good. Very happy with the festival, attendees and vendors alike. I think this year's festival offered some very unique attractions. And every year we look at things we can do to make the festival a better event. We take a lot of feedback from residents and from attendees and from vendors and everyone involved with the festival, including our volunteers. And just to point out some of the things that were kind of big draws this year, I think many of you that attended the event saw the 1969 Huey helicopter that was along Main Street. The American Legion brought that in, and they did count, and they had 5,000 people that went through that helicopter and took pictures, and they were very pleased with that. We also did a military pinning ceremony to honor some veterans of our community, so that's always a great event. The expanded Main Street 1849 was an incredible draw for people. We did a short video that we released on Saturday morning following a precocious 7-year-old as he made his way through Main Street 1849, young man named Truman. We called it Truman on Main, and that video became a little viral because we had over 6,000 views of the video in a very short period of time. But it pointed out something that I think a lot of people missed, is that the roots of this festival are the trails, the Santa Fe, the California, and Oregon trails. And what Main Street 1849 was bring back some of those things that we saw from generations past that this community was kind of built around. And it was great for kids to kind of see that experience of looking at how the blacksmith worked, looking how the old school worked, some of the toys kids played with back in the 1800s. So that was a very popular location. But probably one of the biggest draws, and the one we got the most comments on, was the Uptown Market. The comments from vendors and attendees alike was all positive. And I think there's no doubt that that building and what it means to this community is going to be an asset for a lot of years to come and for many generations to come. And the feedback we got on that is great. I wish we had 400 booths inside the Uptown Market. That's the only problem we have with that. Certainly we couldn't do this festival without the volunteers that really kind of pitch in and help make it possible. We estimate that probably over 200 individuals participated in this year's event as a volunteer. There's so much work to be done, and this is my first year as president of the chamber, and so really my first peek behind the screen somewhat of seeing all the operations and how massive this event is. And I'll tell you, it is a massive undertaking. It takes a full year to put it on. It takes a very dedicated staff by the chamber, but more importantly, it takes a lot of volunteers, a lot of people from the community, and they don't do it for pay. They do it for love of this community, and they do it for love of the festival. We couldn't have a better group of volunteers, and they're ready to go again in 2019. One thing I'll share with you is it's a story that I don't think you hear much anymore. Is we collect over the course of the weekend a lot of lost and found items. And a young man had lost his billfold, and it got turned into the chamber office. And we contacted the young man. His identification was in there. All of his credit cards, all of his money was in there. But we had a volunteer who put $40 extra in there. So when he got there to pick it up, normally you'd think, well, my money's probably gone. He's like, no, I've got $40 extra. I don't understand. And one of our volunteers who took it upon himself, and I won't name him personally, but took it upon himself to put an extra $40 in to help that young man, who certainly appreciated that. And certainly we couldn't have done this event without the support and efforts of several city departments. From barricades to vendor inspections, city staff was a great partner to work with on this year's festival. And I certainly want to give special recognition to the Independence Police Department. We had so many positive comments from everyone alike that they felt safe at the festival, and that is so important. We have our own security team that works, but also police. And the fact that they were present, they were interacting with the public, says a lot for our police department. And they were a great assistance to us. We had 3 minor incidents on the festival grounds. We had 1 incident outside of the festival grounds. They handle every single one of those professionally, caused no major disruption to the festival, and our compliments out to the police department who helped us make this a very safe event for all of our attendees. We know this event has a large economic impact on our community. For a lot of nonprofits that have booth spaces at the event, the festival is their primary fundraiser. In fact, for some of them, it may be their resource for the entire year. But we really want to know, what is the true economic impact? The question always gets asked. We're working with a group of MBA students from Rockhurst University. They were here at the festival. They have met with us post-festival. They're continuing to work on that. They're collecting data and information so we can understand what is the true economic impact. We know a lot of dollars flow through this festival, but we want to have more definitive numbers. And so here in a few months, I think we'll have a report that we'll be more than glad to come back and share with you about the economic impact of this festival. Now, as for the chamber, the resources from this festival go right back into the community. They do go into the chamber coffers, but we use them for things like City Cleanup Day, which is a major undertaking that helps our community. We do things such as the Halloween parade, the first responders breakfast, we want to be more active in the community. We are a membership organization, but we're also a member of Independence, this community, and we want to be globally impactful in our community. And so things like this provide us the resources to be able to do that. So we took a short breath this week. Everyone trying to catch up on their sleep a little bit. It's some long days for our volunteers and our staff, but we're already talking about some things we want to do for 2019. We've gotten a lot of feedback on the event, a lot of information shared with us about things we can do differently or do better, and certainly we're always looking to make it a better festival than the year prior. I want to take my hat off to certainly Lois McDonald, who I think is following me in the audience somewhere. Should have had her do this presentation, but she has coordinated this festival for 6 years, and then also all of the chamber staff. Everyone kind of pitches in to kind of make this work, and my compliments to them on the great work they did on this. So be glad to answer any questions, but again, I want to thank the city for being such a partner in this and supporting it and making it a great event for our residents and people who come to Independence.
Thank you, Tom. It was a great festival. A couple of things that stand out to me. One was we had over 30 delegates from Higashiberiyama, our Japanese city sister, in town over Labor Day weekend, specifically because they wanted to be here to experience the Santa Caligan Festival, and something that's a great tradition in our city, and they were able to help out on Main Street during their visit here. And I want to thank our city manager for helping get the flagpole at the chamber repaired so that we could fly the City of Independence flag and the City of Higashiberiyama flag in honor during the festival in honor of their visit. So they were here for 5 days, and I can say that participating in Santa Caligan was one of the highlights for Mayor Watanabe and his wife, who were here, and the other delegates. I always, for several years, I've volunteered to help out on Monday morning to sign in vendors for the next year, because I always like hearing what their experience was. And there's usually a few complaints, but this year there really weren't. I mean, people were very happy. They noted that the crowds didn't seem quite as large as in some previous years, but their receipts and their sales were comparable to the last couple of years, which we know had some record crowds and record numbers. So many compliments about the entire festival. People want us to build 2 or 3 more enclosed markets so they can, which I told them we're not going to do that, but we, I really felt that the quality of the vendors was exceptionally high, and people really, throughout the weekend, I heard nothing but compliments for the job that the chamber did in organizing it, so thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Great success. I lost my billfold. Oh, no.
We'll take care of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tom. Mr. City Manager, anything else? Oh, are there any other topics for discussion this evening? Yes.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. Since we're speaking about festivals, the International Potluck Dinner that is held annually at Mount Washington area there off of Independence Avenue. They are having theirs, gosh, just lost my thing here. Hold on. They're having theirs September 22nd at 5 to 7 o'clock. Location is at the Mount Washington Methodist Church.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, members of the council, just want to quickly introduce our new Director of Finance and Administration, Brian Kidney. Brian's here tonight, and ask him to quickly stand up so you can see which one he is. Brian most recently came to us from the City of Lawrence, where he was Finance Director. His extensive service in both municipal and private sectors. Brian participated on 3 different interview panels when he was here, and was the unanimous choice of all 3 of those. So we are very excited to be able to welcome him as part of our senior leadership team here at the city.
Thank you. Congratulations. Welcome. You did not go to KU. That's good to know. Thank you for setting the record straight. I just wanted to take a moment. Tomorrow is September 11th, Patriot Day. A day that I know that all of us remember where we were in 2001. So just ask our community to remember tomorrow the victims and the survivors of the attacks on September 11th in honor of Patriot Day. We are adjourned.
It's hard to believe it. I can't believe 17 years is gone. And a month after he got here, 9/11 struck, and his parents were fit to be tied.
I bet they were.
They were so worried.
I bet.
RAFS student in 2001. He had just gotten here. Of course, they don't have the concept of how big,
Big, right,
and how far away we